This is I Came Running. Well, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. If you listened to last episode, you know that we left off in the valley, but when you lose a child, you don't get to just fast forward through that part. You just kind of live there for a while. This episode is different though, and not because the grief is gone, because it isn't, and not because I figured everything out, because I didn't, but because this is the moment where something inside of me shifted in a way I still to this day have a hard time explaining. This is the breakthrough, even if it didn't feel like one at the time. Jasper died on a Tuesday morning, and the world around us just kept going like everything was normal. The days after are hard to describe unless you've lived them. Everything felt foggy, like I was watching my own life from a few feet behind my body. People would talk to me and I'd nod, but I couldn't tell you what they said. I remember thinking, how is everyone even functioning right now? Because I could barely get out of bed this morning. There were moments that crushed me all over again when I wasn't even expecting it. Looking back and not seeing his car seat. Unpacking after we came home from the hospital and seeing his clothes and his toys. Things that used to feel normal suddenly felt unbearable. And yeah, there were things that had to be done. Phone calls, decisions, conversations that no parent should ever have to have. I remember thinking, I don't even know how to be a person right now, and you want me to make these choices and decisions. Nighttime for me was the worst. Trying to sleep, but my mind was racing, finally falling asleep, and then waking up from nightmares. Lying there in the dark, replaying everything, knowing the morning was coming whether I was ready or not. People kept asking how we were doing, which is a fair question, and I'm sure they were sincere about that, but I didn't know how to answer it without sounding either completely broken or like I was a liar. So most of the time, I'd say we're taking it one moment at a time, which is code for I have no idea how I'm even standing right now. I thought about God constantly during that week, not in a calm way and not in a settled way, more like wrestling. I thought about heaven. I thought about eternity. I thought about where my son was. I thought about the God I grew up with and the God I walked away from. And I'll be honest, I didn't know if those two versions of God could even coexist anymore. I prayed a lot, but if you're picturing peaceful prayers, that's not it. They were messy, unfiltered, sometimes angry, sometimes unfinished. I remember going back to work and finding the loudest area that no one was around and just yelling on the top of my lungs, why? Why him? Was I really that bad of a person that you would take my son? And those were all the prayers that I had at the time. I was angry for a few days, and I think that matters to say out loud. But I also knew I couldn't stay there forever. So instead of sitting in anger, I kept trying to accept what had happened, even though I didn't like it, and I definitely didn't understand it. I wasn't avoiding God at this point. I just didn't know how to approach him anymore. Tuesday turned into Wednesday, Wednesday turned into Thursday. Time kept moving, which felt rude, honestly. And then Sunday showed up. That Sunday, I walked into a church for the first time in almost 20 years. And I didn't walk in with some big spiritual moment brewing. I didn't feel holy. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel like I even belonged there. I felt a little hopeful, but mostly scared, broken, and empty. Sitting there, I felt like a fraud, like I was the one who turned my back on God, and now here I am, groveling and begging for mercy like I had some right to be there. Grief does that. It makes you replay your whole story and wonder if you disqualified yourself along the way. And here's what surprised me throughout that experience. Nobody there tried to fix me. No one rushed me. No one demanded an explanation where I'd been for the last 20 years. There was just space. And in that space, something finally clicked. I realized I didn't need answers right now. I didn't need explanations. I didn't even need the pain to stop in that moment. I just needed mercy. That morning, when the pastor said, "Come to the altar," I didn't hesitate. I didn't weigh the pros and cons. I didn't think about how it would look. I almost ran to that altar. That's the best way to describe it. I gave my life to Jesus that morning, not because I was ready, not because I was healed, not because I had anything figured out at all. I gave my life to Jesus because Jasper was gone and I could not survive life on my own anymore. I didn't bargain with him. I didn't make any promises. I didn't say, "I'll do better this time." I just said yes, with nothing to offer except my life and a completely shattered and broken heart. And I expected to feel shame or judgment or like I had waited too long, but instead I felt loved in that moment. I still felt guilty and ashamed at some points, but that wasn't coming from him. That was coming from me. It actually took a while to forgive myself. I was thinking about God constantly, and not in a churchy way, not in a confident, faith-filled way, more like, did you really accept me? Was I really saved? How do I prove to you that I'm for real this time? Those thoughts wouldn't leave me alone. I wasn't questioning whether God was real anymore. I was questioning whether I really belonged to him. And looking back now, I can see what was happening. Grace had met me instantly, but it was going to take some time for my heart to catch up. God wasn't doubting me. I was doubting myself. The grief didn't leave. The ache didn't go away. I still had questions, and I still do today. But everything changed anyway. My attitude changed. Hope started creeping back in. And not all at once, not dramatically, just enough to keep me going. I wasn't alone anymore. Grace stopped being a concept. It stopped being something I heard about whenever I was a kid. It became something real, something personal and present. That's why this line of this song matters to me. He wrapped me in forgiveness. And not because I deserved it, and not because I earned it, but because I showed up empty and God met me there. I didn't come running because I was strong. I came running because I was undone. And forgiveness didn't lecture me. It didn't rush me. It didn't tell me to move on. It held me. It wrapped me like a blanket. If you're listening to this and you're in the worst week of your life, hear this from someone who's been there. Run to Jesus. You don't need the right words. You don't need to clean up your past. You don't need to figure everything out. Sometimes surrender is just saying, "Jesus, I'm done pretending I'm okay." Next episode, I'll talk about what life looked like after that moment. Not magically better, not really easier, but anchored in a way I had never experienced before. For now, just know this. You're not too late, you're not disqualified, and grace is not scared of your worst week.